Time to look at the property market. Joining me this week is senior economist from Proptrack, Eleanor Creagh. Morning, Eleanor. Now, data from Proptrack has revealed the suburbs where prices have grown upwards of 300% over the past decade.
Yes, so really an exceptional period for the Australian housing market over the past decade. And we saw that national home prices have grown 83% in the past 10 years. But as you say, there are some suburbs that have seen significantly more growth. So Byron Bay with more than 360% growth in home values over the past 10 years. Bright, Berry, Kingscliff, all also top performers as well.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? A lot of people have become wealthy through this period, and through the COVID period, it was just remarkable what happened to the property market. Tremendous capital growth. Way back to 2013, has seen multi-million-dollar profits in some regions. Medium house price growth, just extraordinary. And look, how do you see it going for the next 10 years if you can get the crystal ball out?
Yeah, I mean, certainly those who own houses in some of those areas would be pretty happy sitting on some substantial capital growth, certainly, and it's really those kind of lifestyle and holiday destinations that have been the real winners, desirable coastal locations that are really perennially popular. And it's likely that those really popular destinations are going to continue to outperform, I'd probably say, over the next decade. We know that demand is typically strong in these regions, and it's certainly been bolstered by the impact of the pandemic, with people being able to live further afield from work and really lifestyle becoming a higher priority when it comes to housing preferences. Of course, we have seen that the housing market has started this year on a bit of a stronger footing as well, with a lot of those price falls that we were seeing throughout much of last year really reversing. Now we've got the end of interest rate tightening in sight. We've also got incredibly tight rental markets and that very strong rebound in international migration as well, really underpinning home prices at the moment.
Eleanor, what are some of the other top suburbs?
So when we look at the top suburbs, we've got Copacabana, we've got Glenorchy, Burradoo as well in the Southern Highlands, so really picturesque regional locations. And then you've got places like Kingscliff, Byron Bay, Berry as well, another very picturesque Southern Highlands regional location, Suffolk Park, Kingscliff, so really northern New South Wales that has been, I guess, the top performer when it comes to those top 10 suburbs that have seen the most price growth Australia-wide over the past decade.
Now, the amount of days a rental property spends on the realestate.com.au site before being rented is back at a record low?
Yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, really tough conditions for renters continuing, of course, with that strong rebound in international migration ongoing, adding further demand pressures to what is already a rental market where supply is incredibly constrained. So we've got very strong demand that is really outstripping the supply of available properties to rent. And that's seeing properties renting out at record speed. So at a national level, rental days on site are back at just 18 days. Now, that's a joint record low that was reached in November last year as well. Now, we have seen it's Perth and Adelaide that have the tightest rental markets in the country at the moment, where properties are renting out the fastest. But over the past year, the greatest decline in rental days on site has been in Sydney and Melbourne, which makes sense, right, as this is where the bulk of international arrivals are landing, particularly with the rebound in international student arrivals as well, and universities back with face-to-face learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about apartment approvals collapse? This is extraordinary.
Yeah, look, so building approvals have fallen sharply over the past year as interest rates have risen. There's tough conditions in the construction sector, material shortage, labour shortages, high input costs. And we've seen that apartment approvals have fallen 46% year on year. So unfortunately, that's not very good news for those renters that are facing those challenging conditions, right? Because it probably means that the supply of new available rental stock is going to remain quite constrained for quite some time. Although, of course, in the market to buy, that is going to be one thing that continues to underpin values.
What did you make of the changes to the RBA structure?
It's certainly interesting, and we'll see how much of those changes are going to hold and going to be maintained. it's going to be a very interesting period, I think, when it comes to the Reserve Bank structure over the coming months.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. And yeah, I think a lot of people are predicting another 0.25% rise in May, and then it will sit there for a while. This is according to a lot of the experts that I've been hearing on radio during the week. Eleanor, it's always a delight to have a chat.